Hey everybody, Dan here with Pain Free You. Today I wanted to talk about this concept, and I really want to drive it home today. Symptoms will settle down when you do, all right? Panic is never the answer. So I know that seems like a very oversimplification, that well, if I just calm down, things will go away. Now look, I get it. It's much more complex than that, but it's not as complex as sometimes we believe it is. Calming down. Yeah, calm down. Calm down. Nobody likes to hear that, especially when they're in a panic and they feel awful. Calm down, right? That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is we need to teach the brain that we're okay. Not just tell it, not just intellectually understand this mind-body concept, TMS, as I call it, perceived danger, pain, or symptoms. Understanding it is fine, and that is a useful tool. It's actually a required piece of this, this recovery journey, because if you don't know what's going on and how this process works, it's going to be really hard to teach your brain to turn off the symptoms. So when I say symptoms will settle down when you do, there's some groundwork that you need to lay first. You absolutely need to learn what causes symptoms. If you've been following me for any length of time, you probably already know that. When the brain perceives danger, symptoms result. The more danger, the more intense or the more quantity of symptoms you may have. The more safe the brain feels, the less intense the symptoms are, and in many cases, the fewer symptoms you have. So, understanding that basic premise and keeping that in mind first and foremost under the umbrella of perceived danger, you can start to evaluate what's going on, whether or not you are participating in creating that danger or whether or not you are participating in creating the safety. Now, I did a video a few days back about that very topic. How much fear are you creating? It's called secondary fear in many cases. And somebody was saying, how do I stop the secondary fear? Well, awareness. Oh, I'm doing it again. Decision. Let's not do this. Let's shift our focus to something else, more productive, meaningful. Connection with others, purpose, connecting with nature, connecting with other people, not ruminating on and catastrophically thinking about your horrible future, because that is a secondary fear. You are predicting a bad outcome. So those types of things, awareness. What's my role in this? And I'm not saying it's your fault, please. That's not what I meant. But am I possibly perpetuating symptoms? And if the answer is yes, then let's make a shift and gradually start to do something different. Okay? Super important to do this, folks. When I say symptoms will settle down when you do, that's kind of how it works at a very high level. Danger equals symptoms, safety equals fewer, less intense, or no symptoms. And you may be thinking, well, I'm not 100% certain. You don't need 100% certainty to begin. Believe enough to begin. You don't need to feel 100% safe in every aspect of everything in order to get better. But know that you can be safe enough that you don't need symptoms. You can be safe enough that you don't need to feel anxious and worried all day. This is a process. Incremental, gradual process. Nothing is going to happen overnight. So start to be a little bit more settled down than you were before. Now here's the key. Symptoms will settle down when you do ... consistently. Because if you're pretty well settled down, calmly reassuring, knowing that you're okay, being less bothered by the symptoms most of the time, but periodically you freak out, you panic, the brain's going to pay attention to the panic and the freak out. Now, I'm not saying you can never freak out. You can never go into a panic. Look, stuff happens. but you're going to want to reset yourself as soon as possible and go, okay, let's get a grip on it, pull myself out of panic, freak out sooner so I don't spend as much time there. And over time, by freaking out less, panicking less, being less bothered, it's gradual, you will start to show your brain that you're really okay. And if you can show your brain consistently that you're less bothered by this stuff, it will eventually pay attention, take note, and start to result in feeling better mentally, emotionally, and then eventually physically. But the mental and emotional improvements, aka mindset, need to happen first. Learning to get resilient so that if you are going through your day and you feel symptoms, 1, don't panic. 2, reassure, I know what this is. If you know that it is TMS, perceived danger pain, then continuing to move within reason is not going to harm my body, right? And when I say within reason, I mean, don't assume that you can go do something you haven't done in 10 years, right? We want to gradually ease into activities, expecting it to go well. And if symptoms are there or increase, know what it is, call it out for what it is, respond calmly. But do you understand the idea that if you're still panicked, freaked out, doubting what's going on, and then upset that the symptoms haven't gone away yet, that's why. And in no way, shape, or form am I blaming you for this. I'm just encouraging you to have a little introspection and say, am I truly conveying safety, or do I just understand it intellectually? But if I am responding to symptoms and anxiety with fear, negative predictions, this is going to happen if I do this, then you haven't settled down yet. Intellectual knowledge is great. It's the starting point. I always say, do the knowledge acquisition up front. Gain that accurate knowledge. But then we need to remember that even if symptoms are present, right? Because if we throw that out the window when symptoms are present or escalate, it's easy to fall into the fear and the panic and the worry and the catastrophic thinking and I'll never get better type of thoughts. So, do what you can to settle your fears, to not participate in those secondary fears of, I am expecting this, I am doing that, and this is going to happen. I talk to people in the group coaching program, and they will sometimes make statements that lead me to believe that, well, of course I hurt because I did this, and their certainty that they will hurt or experience symptoms when they do something not dangerous is a certainty that we really want to chip away at. Well, not of course you're going to hurt if you go to the grocery store. Well, maybe you can feel better. Maybe you don't have to hurt. So if you've got any assumptions that this, and that will absolutely hurt, let's start challenging them. Mentally, emotionally, then physically. Expect things to go well, or at least better than they previously did. Expect that you can get better, and expect that if symptoms come along, expect that you don't have to panic. You can reassure yourself that you know what's going on, and that symptoms can and will go away quickly, right? Or at least settle down quickly. So yeah, symptoms will settle down when you do. It's a very broad statement. But it's accurate when you start to look at it. Build the foundation. Know what causes symptoms. Do the assessments. Make sure you know what's going on. If you don't know where the assessments are, Chapter 6 in my book, and also go to painfreeyou.com. You can download the assessment by entering your name and email, and there's a link in the description to all of my free resources. So, are you settling down? Or are you still circling in fear and panic and worry and believing I'm never getting out of this? And are you predicting negative outcomes or better outcomes? So, hope this helped. I will see you tomorrow, folks. Love you. and take care. Bye.